So you want to buy a C5 Corvette. Well, here are some things that you need to know before buying one. Here is my C5 Z06. I've owned this car for about 8 months now, and here are things that I have learned while owning this car, learned about doing research before this car, that are very vital to the ownership of a vehicle like this. The very first thing you should know are the issues that these cars tend to have. Most of them are small interior related things. The interiors in these cars fall apart very fast. Chevy had very poor quality control in the early 2000s, and it shows. Even though this car was $60,000 new, which nowadays equates to over $100,000, these cars had awful interiors, and most of them are falling apart, Z06s and non-Z06s. If you have a Z06, it will be very common to see a good amount of wear on the seats. My car only has a small little tear on the driver's seat, and that is really good considering the age of this car and the quality of everything in these cars. Not only that, these cars also have a little issue with the steering columns. The steering column lock on these cars was separated from the steering column, which makes them have to have a security code. And in the early 2000s, it was a factory recall. Those recalls are now failing, and once again, you're starting to have issues that say service column lock, and it locks the steering column, preventing you from driving away. In order to fix this issue, there's a module called the LMC5. If you haven't had that installed in the car, get it installed ASAP, because it will save you a headache later. I had this trouble for a couple of weeks, and it's been the bane of my existence recently, and I finally got it fixed. Fingers crossed. Everything else in these cars is very solid. The motor, the power plant, suspension, transmissions, everything. Everything in these cars is overall a pretty good, reliable quality product. Just the interiors tend to fall apart, and that security system is pretty annoying. Now, the differences between the Z06 and the regular C5. The Z06 does not have a removable Targa panel. So if that's what you're looking for, I would immediately step aside from the Z06 and the fixed roof coupe. There's also a model called the fixed roof coupe. The fixed roof coupe has the same fixed roof coupe design that the Z06 does, but it doesn't have any of the good stuff the Z06 got, like the motor, the upgraded gearing, the wheels, the titanium exhaust. All of those things are not available on the fixed roof coupe, which I think is one of the most pointless cars that Chevy made. And also, they are rare, so they go for good money, and I think it's one of the biggest wastes of money buying a C5 that you can get. Buy a Z06 or buy a base. If you're looking for the Targa option, the Z06 doesn't have it. The Z06 has an LS6 that makes 405 horsepower from 2002 to 2004. 2001 made significantly less power. Just don't buy a 2001 Z06. Simple as that. Unless you're getting a really good deal on an 01 Z06, 2002, 3, 4. That's the years you should stick to. Those are the best years of the Z06. As far as the base models go, they came in convertibles, automatics, coupes, and manuals. The Z06 is manual only. And if you're looking to buy a C5 and you're thinking, do I go manual or auto? Manual is always the option. The autos are garbage. Unless your knees don't work and you're too old to buy a manual, just stick to the manual. You'll thank yourself in the long run. Now, I understand the demographic for this car might be those people who are a little bit older. And that goes into the second thing that I think you should know about the car. Even the Z06, the base model, they're very tame cars. They're very comfortable, they're very simple to drive, and they're good daily drivers. For the people who don't drive these cars, I think it's the biggest shame in the world. This isn't a one-of-one Ferrari, this isn't a Porsche, this is not a BMW. This is a Corvette, an American muscle slash sports slash supercar of the time, and really, these cars are good for driving. If you're not driving them and you're collecting these cars and they're collecting dust, I think it's one of the biggest wastes of a Corvette that you can have. These cars are very comfortable. They're great daily drivers. The Z06 has an amazing gear ratio. I love how the transmission shifts, where it shifts, and all of those different things. But also the Z06 handles amazing. I think it's one of the best points about this car is the handling. And from a driver's perspective, it has a lot of power, it handles good, and it feels super nice to just sit in. You're so far back in this car and you're almost sitting at the rear wheels. It gives a very awesome sensation of driving that not a lot of other cars can give. The C5 is an amazing driver's car, and if you're buying them to drive, that's the only reason why you should be buying them. These cars aren't rare. The other day I saw a post from a 2004 Z06 saying, oh, they only made 1,200 of these in silver in 2004. 1,200 is a lot of cars. You know, these cars aren't rare. They're a dime a dozen. They're literally everywhere. You can find one of these cars anywhere. The Z06 is a little less common, but even in my little town here, I've seen multiple Z06s roaming around. That's not to say that they aren't special cars. They are special cars. They're just not rare and as rare as some of the owners make them out to be. And that's something that you should know before buying it. If you're buying this for the rarity and all of that, maybe this isn't the car for you. But I think these cars will go up in value because they might not be super rare. They are desirable and they are being beat up. A lot of these cars have been turned into track cars, drift cars, whatever it is, and Z06s, a mint Z06 will definitely go up in value. Now, while doing your inspection for these cars, there's a few specific things to look out for. The biggest thing to look out for in a Corvette is to look out for the rear cradle. These cars have transaxles. The transaxles can be clunky from time to time. They will make noise. That is something that they will do regardless. And especially when you shut the car off, if you hear a little clunking noise, it's not a big deal. But what is a big deal is if it is leaking and you can hear it while it's idling clunking. It should not be making noises while idling, it should not be making vibrations while driving, and it should not be making any loud noises. From time to time, it will make a little bit of vibration, a little bit of noise because these cars are old, but also when you turn the cars off. If it's making excessive noise, just know that you're going to have to fix that, and that is a big job. Doing a clutch is a big job. Doing any transaxle work is a big job because there's a lot of labor involved. And the final thing I'd like to mention in this video, if you're considering a Z06 or a base model and you're just looking for a nice car to drive, I would honestly stick with the base model of the C5. The Z06 is a fantastic car. The fixed roof coupe takes a little bit of practicality away from it, but I thought the Z06 would be a little bit more track-oriented, track-focused, and it turns out the Z06 is actually a really comfortable daily driver and isn't quite as rough and raw as I thought it would be. So if you're looking for that out of the Z06, it's definitely not going to be doing that, and for me, I think I'd rather save the extra $10,000 and get a base model. Unless you're looking for the collectability of the car, long-term value, I think the Z06 will be worth more. But if you're looking for a car to just drive, I honestly think that the Z06 is not the way to go. And that's coming from someone who owns a Z06. With all of those things being said, it's very hot in this car. The air conditioning works very nicely. These are amazing cars and they're amazing deals right now. So if you're looking to get one, I highly recommend it. And if you're new to the channel, leave a like on this video, subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. And I'll see you guys in the next one.